Thank you, Chris. You really made me nervous when you talked about the 20-year-old stories you know about me. Could have gotten me in a lot of trouble. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. I'm very pleased to welcome you to tonight's research symposium featuring the world-renowned Dr. Wise Young. I, like you, am very excited to hear what he has to say tonight, and I will introduce him shortly. Before I do so, however, let me just say a quick word about hope. The other day I stopped to talk to a man in a wheelchair in the Skyway in Minneapolis, and it was obvious that he had been in his chair for a long time, as have I. And as we talked further, and he learned that I was involved in research, he made a very curious comment. He said, I'm past that already. I've moved on. It seems to me there are a couple of thoughts that are implicit in those statements. One is that you have to give up hope to live with spinal cord injury. And the other is that the idea of a cure for paralysis is a fantasy. And I couldn't disagree more with both those thoughts. On the idea that you have to give up hope to live with spinal cord injury, it seems to me that there's a big difference between living in the future and working to make the future different. I know as well as anybody that the fact that research is going on is not going to help me get up from bed and face tomorrow morning. But I look at it this way. If a man is going to work every day and he's working hard and he has hope that that work will result in a better future with his promotion next year, I don't see how that's incompatible whatsoever. Secondly, as to the idea, is the idea of a cure for paralysis a fantasy? Well, that depends upon whether it results in activity or not. If a person has hope and doesn't have action to make that hope a reality, then yes, indeed, his hope is a fantasy. This may be a bad example, but let's take Shaquille O'Neal and his free throw shooting. If he hopes to shoot better, but he never goes to the line and practice, then yes, indeed, his hope is a fantasy. This is probably one of the few audiences I speak to that understand the dizzy spells that I get now and then, so thank you for putting up with that. And yet, you hear people a lot of times saying, I hope to lose weight, or I hope to get a promotion, or I hope to get better grades. And if they don't combine that with action, then yes, indeed, their hope is fantasy. Well, that's what the Morton Cure Paralysis Fund has been about for the last 13 years, is translating that hope into action and into ultimately moving spinal cord research forward. In the last 13 years, we've raised over $2 million for spinal cord injury research that has supported some of the best laboratories in the country, including that of Dr. Wise Young. So as this man and I parted ways that day, I was saddened by the fact that he felt he had to give up hope to go on. And I was disappointed by the fact that as a result he was not going to be involved in moving research forward. Because however incrementally, his decision was going to slow down research. It's hope that drives the wheels of progress forward. And it's hope that inspires people to think about a different future and to help make that different future happen. And so if you see hope in what you see and hear in tonight's presentation, I would encourage you all not to make the decision that this man did, because your involvement, if ever so incrementally, will move research forward. And so I hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation, and thank you for your time.